Welcome, friends and writers from EDU 540 to week 9. We're moving along apace. There's a lot of good work going on in the class, I have to tell you. That last week with your personal writing was absolutely beautiful. I really so much enjoyed your openness and your honesty and just the beauty of your writing and how you addressed yourselves in your letters. And the comments that you left for one another, I thought were also very sensitive and very helpful. So I really, really like how you're interacting in the course and how you're working with one another. And hopefully you'll pick up a little, a few hints about biographical writing this week as I talk through some of those different aspects of biographical writing. And we're also going to focus a little bit on point of view, because point of view is very important in writing. It's also very important in reading. And asking your students who's doing the talking or who's being presented in this particular piece of writing can be an important component of understanding literacy and how literacy works and how different pieces of writing, particularly when it comes to fiction and narrative, when we get there in a couple of weeks, really gets to take place. So what I want to do is share with you a PowerPoint that I sort of put together, a very brief one, just to go over some of these ideas and to reinforce some of the ideas that particularly Gail Thompson provides you in writing process and product. So I'm going to back up here a little bit and just say we're going to focus on biographical writing and look at point of view. I introduced point of view with biographical writing because, as you saw with writing the letters to yourself, for example, you can use a different persona and you can use different points of view now as you're going through the different writing exercises that we're using, and start to cultivate thinking about what the perspective is, what you're seeing from that particular point of view, and how that point of view is going to help you get your point across. So we know that there are different types of biographical writing, and the idea behind our doing this now is to help you shape some of the writing that you did last week if you choose. Remember, you went through those stepping stones. You very nicely cultivated some really interesting perspectives on each of those events in your life, in your lives. And again, I really appreciated reading, and I think all of you enjoyed reading some of those things, some of those items that you left in there too. So biographical writing is really the shaping of a personal perspective. And it's also looking at someone else's life from your point of view, or again, from a particular point of view. So we've got different types of biographical writings that we know about. Personal writing, for example, which is really, or personal narratives rather, which are really narratives. They're just what we say. So now we're practicing what we're going to be doing. I think it's in week 11 when we look at narratives. So this is written from a first person point of view. It has a beginning, middle, and an end. And it's rich with dialogue and sensory details. So as you go through your workshop groups this week, if this is the particular method that you choose to express yourself, think about those things, focus on details, and start to write with dialogue, start to write with conversations, some of which may have taken place during those stepping stones that you wrote about last week. Memoirs are a little more complicated, and as we see in some of the videos this week, the sort of distinctions among some of these types of writing can be kind of fuzzy. The memoirs are narratives also, but they really focus on a particular theme. So they're really saying something about you and about your experiences that is thematic. So you want to look through some of those stepping stones maybe and pick out some stepping stones that connect through a particular theme. Look through them and decide, if you're going to write a memoir, what kinds of overall ideas and concepts, learnings that you had through a series of different events that you might be able to concentrate on and focus on as you're writing a memoir. So you're linking those episodes through some sort of unifying theme or concept. Autobiographies are varied, and the great thing about the Thompson book is that there are all kinds of methods for for autobiographies and for biographies, like All About Me books and Life Boxes, where you bring in from home a series of items that kind of describe you, and you walk through what those items can tell about yourself. Bio bags, which are focused on reading and books that we've really enjoyed, that you can bring into the class, that your students can bring into the class, and then present and sort of talk through. Me quilts, so broad pictures of where you are, what you've done, and how different ideas in your autobiography connect with one another. And finally, chapter books, where you're really sort of dividing up your life into different portions and focusing on those chapter to chapter. Although the videos kind of don't support this, Thompson tells us that autobiographies are really kind of, they go through a whole life. So they go from birth, where you were born, et cetera, to what things are like in the present day. And autobiographical writing uses a chronological method. So you're sort of following your own timeline and using that to develop your autobiography. And the important thing about autobiographies to keep in mind is that, unlike a theme, you're not really creating a theme, but you're creating meaning about yourself. You're telling your audience something about who you are through the different events in your life. How these things have affected you, and how you've drawn form from them, a sense of who you are, and a sense of meaning, and how you've developed. So you're understanding, and you're helping your audience understand your own personality through an autobiography. And then, of course, we have biographies. Now, biographies are wide open. And I really think that Thompson wants to emphasize the fact that with biographies, you're looking, first of all, at nonfiction writing. You're looking at talking about an individual from the perspective of their lives. So you're looking at an individual's life from outside, but that life could be yours as well. And one of the options that you have for this week is to put your event or your events in a third person point of view, and see what that tells you, and how that feels, and how that develops your thinking about what your life has been like. So really what I'm asking you to consider as far as writing for this week when it comes to biographies is maybe a biographical sketch. I'm asking you for a 500-word portion of your life. Could be an autobiography, could be a memoir, but if it is a biography, it can be a biographical sketch, which is really just a short sort of, here's where I started, here's where I ended up, here's what I learned, and here's, why this is important. So again, particularly with the last three of these, rather than personal writing, we're really talking a lot about meaning. We're not just focused on narrative and telling a story, but we're really trying to elicit different themes and different overall points of view and perspectives. Biographical posters, which very young children can develop and create pictures of, about their lives. Hot seat, where you take on a particular character in history, or a character in entertainment, or somebody you're interested in, research that person, and then get interviewed and asked questions about in class. Bio poems, of which there's one in Thompson, where you can sort of develop different ideas, but again, looking at a person's needs and wants, and the development of their history from an outside point of view. Collaborating on biographies, having a whole class write a biography of somebody, or individual groups write biographies of somebody. Again, research them, look on the internet, look in the library to find information about this particular person. about whom you're interested. Multi-genre biographies are kind of cool because you can use different genres literally, like, for example, creating advertisements about a particular person's life or storyboarding a particular person's life for a movie or a video. Bio boxes again are ways of developing a perspective on a person in history or a person with whom you're interested in, using the same kinds of techniques that you would for an autobiography. Simulated journals are really interesting too, saying that you're going to write a journal from a person's perspective, not your own, but someone with whom you're interested. So what would that be like? What would sort of their personal lives and their personal sense of meaning be like? And finally, lifelines, where you develop a chronology for a famous person and you plug in different events. And again, you're looking at that chronology in a sense of what that life looks like from outside that person's life. Finally, I think one of the things that you want to consider or start to consider now is this idea of point of view, because there are different ways to manipulate and transform and change how we do biographical writing. We can certainly use that first person, that persona, that I, we, me pronoun writing that we've been using already with our personal writing, and we'd use that in a personal narrative or an autobiography or a memoir. Interestingly, you use your second point of view in the letter that you wrote to yourself. Well, there's a way to capture your reader's attention because you're addressing the reader directly, and in a sense you're almost putting them in your shoes. So again, you're kind of manipulating their experience through the writing by addressing them directly from a second person point of view. And finally, third person point of view, where you're writing a biography. And it could be, as I said, a biography of yourself where you're using those pronouns as well, where you use he, she, and they. And the two kind of third person narrations that we're most interested in, particularly when we get to the idea of narration, is this omniscient narration, which is talking about every character and getting into every character's mind, as well as the mind of the narrator, and also the limited perspective, where the person doesn't have access to other people's thinking, but is really writing from a single point of view, using he, she, or they. So start to think about developing some of these things and utilizing some of these things in your writing for this week. Play around. And I think you've been doing that really well in your workshop groups. Play with the language, play with the form, see what you come up with, and see what you learn and discover so that you can communicate some of those things to your students as they embark on biographical writing as well. And then down the road on description and narration, which utilize some of these ideas about point of view also. So that's us for this week. Thanks a lot for listening in. Check out some of the videos that I left. I really plowed through quite a few videos. I only came up with a brain pop for the biographical writing, but I thought it was well done, and I also thought it reinforced some of the ideas that we've been using for writers' workshops so far. And keep writing, keep sharing. As far as the different artifacts, this week I'm asking you for one of the entries from your Choice Words practice journal. So if you drop that in and allow me to comment to some of that and write back to some of that, as I said, you're going to get earlier on, you're going to get 10 points for your portfolio exhibition with each of these practice journal entries. But as far as the artifacts are concerned, I'm looking for time in my schedule to kind of look through the artifacts that you've left in your workshop groups and commenting to them and providing them back to you so that you at least have another point of view in addition to your colleagues' point of view in your workshop groups on how you're developing your personal writing, how you're developing the expository writing, which was a couple of weeks ago, and this week how you're using and utilizing biographical writing. So thanks a lot for listening. I hope you've enjoyed this. I hope you enjoy the kinds of challenges and the ideas that I put forth for this week about biographical writing. And I look forward to joining you online, commenting to your case studies, and all the other wonderful work you're doing in the course. Keep learning, keep writing, enjoy yourselves, take care, be well.